So we're here today with Julia Carlis, who is the branch manager of the Pleasant Hill Library in the Dakota County Library System here in Hastings. Julia, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Tom. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you. So you have been the branch manager up at Pleasant Hill Library for how long?
It'll be 2 years in January.
Okay, great. So you were telling me before we started shooting here that you came into the Pleasant Hill Library when it was still at its temporary location over in the Westview Center, and then moving into the newly remodeled, renovated library. What was that like?
It was a really interesting experience because, we were already in the temporary location, so a lot of the design work and that kind of planning for the remodel was already done, but there still was a lot to figure out about, moving the library back from the temporary location where we had our entire collection of physical materials, which is over 50,000 items. So that's a lot of things to move. And we had to move all of our shelving too, because that shelving came from the building before, moved over to Westview, and then came back with us. So there was a crew of movers that did a lot of the heavy lifting, but it still was a big process to figure out, okay, the children's collection is over here and we want to put the shelves together in a specific order. And I learned so much about library shelves. There's so many kinds that depending on, a DVD might go on a different shelf than a picture book or whatever it is. And you need to make sure that the shelves are right so stuff stays on them once you put it there. So that was a little bit of a organizational song and dance, just getting all of those pieces in the right place. But we have such a beautiful renovated building, and it's just light and bright, and there's it's a little different now, of course, because we're in a express services mode because of COVID. But I would encourage everybody, if they haven't been into the building, we'd still love to have you come in and walk around and see what we've got going on. Hastings is really the town is really in the building too, in a lot of the visual elements. We even have this cool terrazzo tile floor that's like a map of the local area with the rivers and some of the roads, so you can stand on where Hastings is and wave at Prescott across the river. We have those labels on the floor, so that's and just it gives us the opportunity to just have more computers that people need to use, and lots of just cool stuff. Operating, like I said, a little differently in express services mode, but someday we'll be back to our full glory.
Given the pandemic and given all of the challenges that every business and every organization has during COVID, what are some things you mentioned? Express, kind of I guess it's kind of a takeout service, so to speak. What are the things that you needed to institute during COVID that immediately people would know, as far as, so you're open, but is it limited hours? Can people, do they have to call ahead and select a book online, or what sorts of things do you do now versus normal times?
Sure. There's still a lot of possibilities. Our hours are a little bit different than they were. We're currently open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 9 to 5. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're open 11 to 7. So we do have some evening hours and some Saturday hours. Just, everybody's schedule is different. Right now, you can come into the library. We're just, masks are required as they are everywhere. And we're asking folks to keep their visits brief. So, in normal times, we have comfy chairs, and there's toys in the children's area, and the computers have a longer time limit. And those are some of the things we've had to pull back on
Sure.
right now. But you can still, you can come in and use one of the internet computers. You can look for books or CDs or other materials to check out. We have holds. Staff are here to answer questions, or you can to get a library card. And we do now have curbside pickup. That was one of the first things we added back after we closed back in March. That was our first service that we kind of relaunched. And now, even though you can come into the building and get your own holds or look for other things, we still know that there's people that, for a variety of reasons, might just be babies in the car seat asleep, would prefer the ease of pickup curbside. So those you can schedule. You can even schedule your pickup time through our website, and we bag everything up and check it out to you and put it outside with a label on it so you know which one is yours. Then you just drive up. There's a beautiful cart outside that is quite visible by the front door. So you're able to just grab your items and go. One other thing we did is extend the Wi-Fi in our building out to the parking lot. So that you can, because not everybody has an internet connection at their home, or might not be that great. So you're welcome to come hang out in our parking lot and use our Wi-Fi, or sit at the picnic table until it's, at least now, while it's not covered in snow. But just those
weather conditions
yes
might be.
I know. We did have them. We had patio furniture when it was nicer out, but it's not really the patio furniture season anymore. So that's an option too. And of course, there's still a lot of ways to connect with us online as well.
What seems to be the preferred way that people are still taking advantage of the library? Have you seen, have numbers gone down as far as the number of people just either coming into the facility or doing the pickup? You think more people would be reading nowadays, though?
I think they are, and I think too that distance learning is changing some people's needs in terms of what they might need for school too. So our circulation, earlier this year was certainly down because for a while we were closed, and then it was just not as available. But we're inching back it up there, which is good. And I mean, our foot traffic is still down. So, but that's okay. We're seems like people are checking out. It's fun to see them come over to the checkouts with big stacks. So there's still lots of foot traffic. It was so nice to reopen our doors and get to see people again, because I mean that's one of the reasons I do this, is because I love talking to people and helping them out with what they're doing. So super glad to have them come back in. And I think also our ebook collections and some of those online resources are seeing increased usage. I mean, that's a years long trend in libraries that I think has gotten an extra push in this year with all of our circumstances that people are, and we've put more dollars in that pile because we are seeing demand go up, especially when you couldn't come into the building at all. Our digital collections were always just through the app or through our website. They're there and accessible.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the ebooks and how that works exactly? If someone wanted to know what that was all about, does it involve something that they can download off the web, like onto their Kindle or onto their mobile device or onto their desktop, or how does that work exactly?
Sure. For the ebook platforms. There's a couple different ways to access things, and we're about to go through a little changeover. That is, we're just switching out one app and going to a different one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to get too much in the weeds for that.
Yeah.
But they usually with those ebooks, you can look at them in a browser on a desktop or laptop computer. Most of them have an app that would go on your phone or a tablet like an iPad. And then some of the things you can, there's one app, Hoopla, that you can stream content, that you either can stream it if you're connected to the internet, or you can download it for a limited time and watch, because in a time where we went on planes, you're not always connected to the internet. Or maybe you're just out in the country and you don't have a streaming level of internet. But so there's under our books and materials tab of our website, there's an ebooks tab, and it'll get you to all of those different things. Those you can usually place holds like you would with a physical item, and but it's nice because they just expire when you don't have nothing to remember to bring back to the library. They just vanish.
Poof.
Which is great, except for if you're like 25 pages from the end and it expires, then
Does it really do that? Does it just go away?
Yeah, it does. But
wow.
One thing that's nice is...
That's harsh.
Well, the way we make libraries work is by sharing, so it's time for the next person. But one thing that's nice is that the app or the website will remember your place. So if you have to check it out again, you don't have to try to remember, okay, what chapter was I on?
What page was I on?
So
that's hilarious.
The electronic bookmark doesn't fall out like the paper one does.
Okay. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I have not obviously used that function.
Yeah, might be worth checking out.
It is.
And
sounds like it.
One other thing that that's also kind of new to us that has an electronic component is we have just started checking out Wi-Fi hotspots and kits that are a Chromebook, computer, and a hotspot together. So we know one of the things that people use the library for a lot is that internet access, like I mentioned, but when we don't have the same hours, or we are limiting people by time, but this is a way that you can get some internet access that you can take with you. So right at this very moment, they are all checked out, but we're getting more soon, and it's something you can place a hold for. So if you have a Dakota County Library card, or if you have a card, so here in Hastings, where some of the Hastings folks are actually in Washington County, but they can get a card through Washington County and register it with us, and they'd be able to place a hold. One other new thing that we launched since the pandemic started with an eye toward that access piece is online card registration. Previously, in order to get a library card with us, you had to come into the library. It's a pretty quick process, but still, it's got to show up, got to have your ID, and something that shows your address. But now we have a form on our website that you can apply for a library card online, and it goes through some verification on the over there in IT land somewhere.
Yeah.
But you get an access number almost right away. I think it's within like an hour. You get a number so you can access our digital collections, and then we mail you the card. And then then you have a card. And that's so I think that's actually one of the coolest things that we've done since we had to kind of pivot a lot of our services, was get that rolling. It was something we kind of had in the works, but they really kicked the process into high gear to get it done quickly, so that we could especially while our doors were still closed. That was the only way. But now it's just, it's super convenient. It's helping us reach a lot of new folks.
So given your background in libraries, and do you have a degree in, like library science, or what would the degree be exactly?
Yep. A lot of folks have masters in library sciences.
Okay,
That's what
master's in library science. All right. Okay, very cool. Given that experience, that educational experience, and the professional experience you've had since obtaining that degree, how do you see, and I'm sure there's trade magazines and there's online, and all of you kind of talk around the country and the world that have similar types of positions. How do you see this situation, this pandemic, is gonna change libraries forever, right? I mean, it's going to be a permanent thing that certain things are going to be just different now, that you've maybe innovated some things like, oh yeah, maybe we should do this even beyond COVID. Hopefully that's next year. What sorts of things are just going to be different from now on?
Sure. I think that online library card is going to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I think is the most important that libraries do is that we can be a connector, and that can be connecting a person to something they need, a book they need for school. It can be communities coming together. It can be somebody who's applying for jobs that's looking for resources about resume writing. So that there's just so many things that people are looking for in their lives, and they might not know what's the best place to go. And I think the library might not always be kind of the answer, but we are, I hope, a connector between people and what they're looking for. So I think the pandemic has really shown us ways that we can partner with other community organizations. For example, we here at the Pleasant Hill Library, we partnered with the schools this summer, and we were a meal distribution site for kids.
Oh, wow.
For their summer meals, because that system couldn't work in the way it usually does.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, the county library was able to partner with a lot of our school districts and use those meal distribution mechanisms that the districts put in place to get kids signed up into our summer discovery, our summer reading and learning program. Yeah. And we were able to get just thousands and thousands of books to kids. Here in Hastings, it's about 2,400 books that went out with the lunches on the school buses, all around Hastings. And
that's kind of sneaky.
It was really great. And just,
here's a sandwich and a book.
Yeah, you didn't expect it, but and because we know that one of the really important things for kids and their learning is to keep learning over the summer. Mm-hmm. And this summer was unlike any other that I've ever experienced. Yeah. And we usually that's our busiest time in the library, typically, but it certainly wasn't this year. But that was a way that we could still encourage kids to keep reading and learning by giving them a book that they get to keep. And mm-hmm. there's just, there's educational outcomes that the more books you have in your home, the more likely you are to be successful in school. Yeah. So as a librarian and book lover, I think it's great to give those kids those books that they get just when they sign up. They don't even have to do anything. They just have to be there. And that was really fun to get those out. So I hope that this will give us the opportunity to keep connecting with new and different people. I never would have thought that the food services director of the school district would be somebody that I would partner with. But I think hopefully this will help us kind of open up our thinking of there's more just really great partnerships and connections that can happen if you open up your thinking.
Well, we're not only
They
nourishing
were so
stomachs,
great to work with. Yeah,
we're nourishing minds also.
that's right.
Here in Hastings. So that's great.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that made me think about something that has been specifically in the last 10 years, if not 15 years, is screen time, especially with young people. But myself, I get a report every week on my phone of, is my screen time up or down or whatever, and I use it professionally, obviously, but the phone has actually become primarily my main source of entertainment. So whether it's reading articles online through different apps, or it's watching videos, or it's whatever it might be on YouTube or Facebook or whatever it might be, Twitter. How has that either helped or hindered libraries?
Well, I think
it's a real deep question.
I know. Did I put on my philosopher hat when I got up this morning? I don't know. I think I'm not a snob about this. Or, it's like reading is reading. So I think it's better to be engaged in the world than not. So I think if you're connecting with learning and information, that's awesome. But it does, it does change what we do. It makes us less reliant on the physical building as a place to keep our stuff, because we have a lot of our collection and our library materials. You can't pick them up; they exist digitally.
Yeah.
So it gives us ways we can think about using our space differently. Like in the remodel, we now have our meeting room of course, all of our meeting rooms and study spaces are closed right now, but our meeting room did get larger. We have a couple conference rooms that the public can book, and we have study spaces. So, there's more things like that we can do here. Back in the last fall, we were excited to host some of the Thrive events that group was doing. We had a couple of those things here. We also hosted someone from the city who was talking about recycling and other energy conscious kinds of things. Like I think there was one about composting. So just, that we can be that kind of community hub.
Sure.
We hosted a bunch of county staff learning about passport applications. So, we can do that kind of thing with our physical space, since we've changed some of the other things. But I think, we're learning this year that even if gathering looks a little differently, like we're doing this on Zoom instead of in person, that still those connections are super important. And I think we at the library love to facilitate that where we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been fortunate enough where I live here in Hastings, I'm walking distance from the library, and it's been such an asset for our family, as well as I know our neighborhood just loves it. We're over here by McAuliffe School, and it's just such a valuable tool for our schools and in community education. I'm sure they are involved over there, and seniors obviously love it. So it's really something, and I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but some from birth to cradle to the grave, the library is from story time for babies, which the 0 to whatever it is, 18 months.
That's the best story time, 0 to 24 months. It's so much fun.
So
I used to be a children's librarian, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
so
fun.
I'll never I still get to pinch hit in story time sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
fun.
and I miss it, but we're still doing story time. Every Monday, there's a virtual story time posted to our Facebook page, done by librarians from around the county,
I've
and they're
seen this. Yeah,
recorded so you can get them anytime. And that's just one of the many different kinds of virtual programs we have too. Got to plug those. There's been some really cool
yeah.
ones that you can check out on Facebook and some on the county YouTube page too.
So let's talk about those sorts of programs. And I know here on Hastings Happenings, we've tried to be pretty good about when someone from your library sends us, well, there's an upcoming speaker or there's an upcoming event or things like that, whether it's for kids or for youth or for seniors or whoever it is, we try to make sure we plug those things. I've put a few things on there where it's story time, and there's a librarian who is quite animated in doing the hand gestures and everything. They really get into it. So if you haven't seen folks in the viewers out there, if you haven't seen one of these, it's actually a lot of fun, and the librarians really get into it and have a lot of fun with it, and I'm sure the kids love it. So Julia, with COVID and with all of this, what sorts of things are you really trying to plug programming wise, primarily online, but are there things happening live currently, or is it pretty much all online at this
Everything
point?
is online right now.
Okay.
It's just easier, or it's more consistent. We don't have to negotiate we have some plans for when we feel like might be safer.
Yeah.
And we can phase that back in. But for now, we've shifted to that virtual program, all that fun stuff. And like I mentioned, story times every week.
Mm-hmm.
We have had some sessions for supporting K-12 learners, since educators and parents and other caregivers are supporting their kids learning in different ways. We've had some of those sessions, which are archived on Facebook. A lot of our book discussion groups have shifted to online meetings. There have been business classes and other things for job seekers, since that's a big thing with the pandemic, that a lot of people are looking for job skills, or might be thinking about starting their own business, or some sort of side hustle kinds of things. So there's a lot of those things. We've had also other storytelling programs, and there's been some programs for this November is Native American Heritage Month.
Yeah.
So we had Redbone singers, and which had drumming. That program was really cool. So what's nice is some of these things are real time. You get a Zoom link, you hop in, and you can learn from an art teacher or whoever it is. But some of them are on Facebook, so you don't even have to have a Facebook account to access the videos. I think is important, because not everybody has a Facebook.
Yeah.
But you can get a lot of those videos after the fact. So if it's you need something, I've seen a video of kids watching our video story time, and they are doing they're singing along and they're talking to the librarian, even though it's on Facebook, and but they get really engaged, and
good,
and that it's so much fun. So I would encourage folks to check out our virtual programs on our website. There's a tab that says programs. If you click there, it'll give you the link to the event calendar, and you can see everything coming up there. We're adding stuff on there all the time. So
and then there's programs at other libraries, not just Hastings, not just Pleasant Hill, that people can participate in also, correct?
Yeah, so these, some of them are put on by librarians from around the county. Some of them we've actually partnered with MELSA, which is the Metro Area Library Cooperative. So we've gotten some programs through that have been kind of sponsored through that, including Club Book. It is a, I think, biannual, maybe it's just once a year, series of author visits that we put together as kind of metro wide. There's an event in each library system.
Yeah.
Those they record all of those too and post them on their website. So that I think is a pretty cool thing that we have. And I know that like people come to our programs that don't necessarily, we never check where your address when you sign up for a Dakota County program, but usually people aren't, we know people are coming from all around the country sometimes because they can, which is pretty cool. So it's been kind of fun for some of our librarians who have family in other parts of the country that might, the kids, the little cousins or whoever it is, nieces and nephews, can see their relative doing story time on the website, and which you might never get to experience.
That's so fun.
Unless you were traveling. So, you got to find those bright spots where you can.
Right. Well, very cool. I was going to ask about in normal times, or I guess even during COVID times, do you get people from, like we mentioned Prescott earlier, or other counties, or Washington County, people like that? Do people come in? What are the qualifications to get a Dakota County Library card? Do you need to be a Dakota County resident?
To get a card from us, yes, you do.
Okay.
Need to be a county resident or taxpayer. But in Wisconsin, they're separate. But Minnesota has a
we love you, Wisconsin. It's okay.
We do. I wish I could, but in Minnesota, we have reciprocal agreements, which means that your card from wherever, I mean, you could live in Moorhead and have a Moorhead card, and if you were down here, you can register with us and become a borrower in Dakota County also.
Oh, okay.
So, or if you live down here and you have a cabin up in Ely, you could take your Dakota County card to the Ely Public Library and register it there.
Okay.
So we like to cooperate. Like I said before, libraries are about sharing, and we've worked out some really great arrangements in the state of Minnesota so that we can share in between. So here in Hastings, we have a lot of folks that come from over the river from Washington County, or they come from the southern half of the county, where, this might be where they come to do a lot of their shopping and errands. So they also come up here from, Cannon Falls or wherever, and those cards can get registered in our system. So we don't give you a separate card, but we can use your number from wherever your home system is, and then you can become a borrower here.
Okay. So it's not like Sam's Club where you have to be. Okay. So any other programs or things coming up for the holidays or things like that you really want to promote?
We do have a cool program, virtual program coming up on December 17th. That is called Celebrating Somali Youth Voices. They put together a book called Crossroads. That's an anthology of essays by young Somali writers. And so they put together a book with their all of their works. And so the event, if you sign up for it, you can get a copy of this book. You'd have to stop into the library and get one. Or you can just attend the event and meet the editor of the book, as well as a couple of the writers. So great. We're just really excited to be hosting that that program to learn about, some people's experience in our state who are new. And then probably the next thing on our radar for Hastings is the Hastings Reads program in February. So that's a little bit down the road, but we are looking pretty much at online events for that too, but there'll be a lot of cool stuff coming up for that one as well.
And that's where there's a specific book or books where kind of everyone in the community reads and then they exchange ideas about it or thoughts.
Yep.
Okay.
So the book this year is called A Good Time for the Truth. And that's about race in Minnesota. So we're, and it came out a couple of years ago and just really was a huge success. I think it hit the moment of so many people are wanting to learn about other people's experiences, and we're becoming more aware of, me and a lot of people are becoming more aware of how race affects people's experiences in our state, in our communities here. And that was, I feel like I've learned a lot, really eye-opening. And so I think we'll get some really great discussions about that too.
Yeah. Kind of dovetailing off of that, Julia, I know Hastings is a fairly homogenous community, and that's been changing recently, but still fairly homogenous, especially for Dakota County. What sorts of resources does Hastings, as well as the rest of the county, have for people who are they're not native Minnesotans, or they do not speak English as a first language? Maybe it's a second or a third language. What sorts of resources do we have kind of for those individuals who they love to read, they love to learn, but they're not necessarily as fluent in English that a lot of us are, obviously?
There's a couple things I can recommend. Great Rivers Adult Education Consortium. They do the adult education for the Hastings area and South Washington County. They have a lot of ESL classes, job skills classes, a ton of cool classes, and they're really supportive and fun folks. We at the library, we have the Mango languages. So that is Duolingo is a free thing, but we have this Mango languages that can help you learn English if you want to build your English language skills. We also do have collections in other languages. Most of our libraries have a Spanish language collection. Then some of the locations have Somali, Russian, Vietnamese. Kind of depends on, so we have a little variety in the county of where concentrations are. So, and you don't want to look at the same 3 books all the time. So it's better to have it all together. And of course, we can request things from elsewhere in the county. So you can bring it over if you want to read in your own language, or if you're learning Spanish or Vietnamese, you could try it out. I know that I have forgotten almost all the Spanish I used to know, so I can't really hack it anymore. But we do have those collections, and that's something we've kind of invested in recently in those world language collections, since we want people to find things that are valuable to them and that they enjoy, where they're most comfortable.
Do you have the opportunity, I know just from Hennepin or Ramsey County, are you able to share resources with them, or does that kind of get sticky because you're dealing with, like, if something in Somali is in Hennepin County libraries and someone who is a Somali American wants something in Dakota County, are they able to get it from Hennepin County, or how does that work?
Sure, there's a couple options. One is a system called MinLink. It's interlibrary loan. So we can here at our library, or you can actually do this through that website yourself. Search all the libraries in Minnesota. So we can request things through that system. And again, because of that reciprocal borrowing thing, and we like to cooperate here in Minnesota, you can take your Dakota County card. You'd have to go to Hennepin County, which is farther than some people want to go, but that's an option too, that you can register your Dakota County card in Hennepin County and then access their collections.
Oh, okay. So Julia, I have to ask you, I know something about you that maybe some people don't know about you, is that you were on Jeopardy.
It's true.
You were a contestant on Jeopardy. When was that? How was that? I know recently Alex Trebek passed away, which is everyone is very sad about that.
I feel like he was like all of our dads, or goofy uncle or something. Yes, I was a contestant on one episode of Jeopardy. It was actually almost 10 years ago. And I acquitted myself well. I answered a bunch of questions correctly, which is, or provided the questions to a bunch of answers correctly, which is what you want. But the man I lost to, he is a very smart person, and he was in the middle of winning almost $250,000. Like I think he won 8 games in a row. So, I just felt like
you were just collateral damage along the way.
Yeah. Okay. But it was just, it was a really cool experience. They have the whole thing down to a science of, because a lot of these folks are, I am okay with being on camera and talking to people, but a lot of folks aren't, and they don't have any experience with that, which I guess I didn't really at the time either, but they're not public speakers, and they're really nervous, but they are so supportive and kind. And then it's just kind of surreal to walk into the studio and see the whole set and all the lights, and you really don't get to talk to Alex very much because of the quiz show scandal from the 50s. You can go watch that movie Quiz Show from whenever that was. So they don't, to prevent any appearance of cheating, you basically get to talk to Alex in those little contestant interviews, and then afterwards there's the chatting time where you while the credits are rolling. So but he's just a kind person, and everybody, it was kind of my only life goal. So now I need to come up with my other life goal is to go to all 50 states before I turn 50, and I only have 4 states left. So
wow, that's great.
Do it.
Yeah.
And then once I do that, then I have to come up with some other life goal. But no, it was really something that I was really, I don't know, it was just really cool to do. About 35,000 people a year take the test, and they have 400 contestants a year. So even if I didn't win, it's still kind of a cool group to be a part of.
Do you get parting gifts? Do you get like rice-a-roni, or do you get turtle wax, or what do you get for being on the show?
You get, if you come in second, you get $2,000. If you come in third, you get $1,000. But they don't pay for you to go out there, which is fine. So at least if you're on the show, it covers you getting out there. And so you got a little money, I think. But I mean, the experience was just really cool and kind of irreplaceable. So it was really super fun.
So you tell all your relatives, "Hey, I'm going to be on Jeopardy." Do you take an online quiz or something, and then they notify you? Or online would be kind of tough because you could Google the answers.
Well, they do an online test, but you only get 15 seconds with each question.
Oh,
so you'd have to be the fastest Googler in the West to get that to happen.
Yeah.
Fortunately, spelling doesn't count either, so you don't have to be the neatest typer either. But then there is an in-person audition component, and at that point, they make you take another 50-question test. So if you somehow did cheat or have, a room full of helpful people shouting answers at you online, you wouldn't be able to do that in person.
Okay.
So they've figured it out.
Yeah. So you were legit. You were actually smart.
I mean, I still, I like to do the occasional, trivia night or whatever.
That's great. Yeah, that'd be tough. It's like if you're at a bar or something that's trivia night. It's like, I want Julia.
But if it's TV or music trivia, I'm not very good at those.
Okay.
But president facts, U.S. president facts, I'm much better on that for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's me.
Still can't name all those early 1800s people in order necessarily.
Right.
Like who is first, Pierce or Fillmore, unknown. That's why we get to look things up.
That's funny.
Here at the library.
I pretty much have my phone with me at the table every night, and we talk about current events and politics a lot. And I've got my phone with me, and it's like, who was president when? My 20-year-old son will be like, who was president when that happened or whatever. I'm like, oh, Millard Fillmore, or Rutherford B. Hayes. Anything stand out about Jeopardy that was unique or funny or?
I did, well, so there's a young adult author or book, John Green, who writes books for teens, and he and his brother have a YouTube channel that has over 1 million subscribers. They've been doing YouTube videos kind of to each other for, 12 years or something.
Like Hank?
Hank and John Green. Yep. Yeah. So their kind of fans call themselves nerd fighters. And the final Jeopardy, when I was on Jeopardy, the category was 20th century novelists, and I didn't know the answer. So I wrote down, who is John Green? And that little sector of the internet got really excited. So he mentioned me in one of his videos. So I was very briefly famous to a small portion of the internet.
Wow.
So that was pretty fun. I did get to meet him a number of years later, and that was pretty exciting.
So you're like a trivia answer.
You'd have to, real deep. But yeah, sure.
Wow. Okay. Well, how cool is that? That's very neat. Julia, thanks so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. I think the library is just a incredibly valuable part of our community for all ages, as we discussed. And it seems like you really love your job. Would that be a correct thing to say?
I really do. It's just, I get to help people and learn things. What could be better?
Well, again, thanks for coming on the show. And if people wanted to find out more about the Dakota County Library and Pleasant Hill Library, what's your domain name? What's your phone number up there?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on. Our website is dakotacounty.us/library. And the phone number here for us is 651-438-0200.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Julia, and keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you.